Have you ever sat down at the dinner table and felt like things just weren't quite the way they used to be? Maybe the grandkids push their food around more than they eat it, or you find yourself wondering why mealtime feels a little more stressful than joyful. If you've ever had that quiet little thought, I'm doing everything I can, so why does dinner time still feel off? You are not alone. You see, mealtime isn't just about food. It's about connection, habits, emotions, and communication. And while many of us grew up with certain routines and rules around the table, what worked 30 or 40 years ago doesn't always serve us, or our families, today. Especially as loving parents and grandparents, we naturally want to guide, protect, and nurture. But sometimes, even with the best intentions, we can make small mistakes during meals that have a bigger impact than we realize. In this video, we're going to talk about 4 dangerous mistakes parents often make during mealtime, especially when raising kids or helping grandkids, and more importantly, how to gently avoid them without guilt, shame, or stress. Because let's be honest, parenting never really ends, does it? Whether your kids are 6 or 60, you're still in their corner. And that love is powerful. When we make just a few simple shifts in how we approach food and family time, the difference can be incredible. Let's start with the first one, and it might surprise you. It's pressuring kids to eat everything on their plate. Now, if you were raised like most of us, chances are you heard this at least once: clean your plate before you leave the table. And you probably said it yourself to your kids. Maybe you still say it to your grandkids today. After all, food isn't cheap, and we don't want to waste it. But here's the problem: when we push children, or even adults, to eat past their natural hunger signals, we're teaching them to ignore their own bodies. Over time, that can lead to overeating, emotional eating, or even a disconnection from hunger altogether. Think back to your own childhood. Was there ever a time you felt forced to finish your food, even though you were already full? That kind of pressure sticks with us, often leading to habits we carry well into adulthood. Now, imagine if instead of being told to clean your plate, we were asked, "Are you still hungry, or have you had enough?" It's a simple question, but it gives the other person, especially a child, permission to listen to their body and make choices that build confidence, not guilt. Instead of pushing for a clean plate, try making meals a space for curiosity. You might say something like, "I noticed you didn't touch your carrots. Do you want to tell me what you didn't like about them?" Or even better, involve them in the preparation. Kids who help chop, stir, or even set the table are often more open to trying new foods because they feel like they had a say in it. You'd be amazed how differently things go when a child says, "I helped make this," compared to "I was told to eat this." Now let's talk about the second mistake, and this one is a little sneakier. It's using food as a reward or punishment. Finish your vegetables, and you can have dessert. Sound familiar? It's a classic parenting move that many of us have used at one time or another. It seems like a harmless way to encourage good behavior, but it actually sets up a tricky dynamic. When we treat sweets as a prize and vegetables as a chore, we teach kids that healthy food is something to get through, and unhealthy food is something to earn. It's like saying, the broccoli is bad, but the cookie is good. Over time, this kind of thinking can really mess with how kids see food, and how they feel about themselves when they eat it. It can lead to guilt, cravings, or even secret eating as they grow older. So, what can we do instead? Try shifting the conversation away from good versus bad foods and toward how foods make us feel. You might say, "This salmon is great for our brains," or "These berries help keep our bodies strong." Let kids know that food isn't a bribe or a punishment. It's fuel, it's culture, it's connection. Dessert doesn't have to be banned, but it also doesn't need to be used as a bargaining chip. In fact, some families find that serving a small treat with the meal instead of after it takes away the power struggle completely. Imagine the peace of not having to negotiate bites over a spoonful of mashed potatoes. There's something really freeing about removing those old food rules and replacing them with trust. Trust in your children. Trust in their appetites. And trust in yourself to model a balanced, respectful relationship with food. And I know, old habits can be hard to break. We mean well. We want them to grow strong, stay healthy, and make good choices. But the truth is, sometimes letting go of control is the healthiest thing we can do for everyone at the table. Now, as we move forward, let's keep that warm feeling in mind, the idea that meals can be less about control and more about connection. Less about shoulds and more about sharing. Because that's really what we want, isn't it? A table where laughter is louder than arguments. Where everyone, from the littlest grandkid to the oldest guest, feels safe, seen, and satisfied, not just in their bellies, but in their hearts. So, now that we've talked about how pressuring to eat and using food as a bargaining tool can backfire, let's take a closer look at what else might be sneaking into our mealtimes without us even realizing it. Because sometimes, the most harmful patterns are the ones we don't even notice. They sneak into our routines quietly, habits picked up from our own childhoods, or simply from trying to get through a long day without a battle at the dinner table. The third mistake parents often make during mealtime is talking too much about what or how much someone is eating, especially in front of others. Now this one's tricky, because it usually comes from a place of love. We see a grandchild pick at their food, and we worry they're not getting enough. Or we see them go back for seconds and feel concerned they're eating too much. Maybe you've said something like, "That's your third helping," or "You barely touched your dinner, are you even hungry?" Sound familiar? The thing is, food is personal. Even when it's shared at a family table, each person's plate is their own space. When we draw attention to what someone is or isn't eating, especially a child, it can spark feelings of shame, self-consciousness, or even rebellion. And believe me, once a child feels judged about food, that discomfort can stay with them for years. I remember a friend telling me how her granddaughter, only 7 years old, started saying I'm fat because she overheard adults discussing what was too much food for a girl her age. It broke her heart. And the truth is, kids are listening all the time, even when we think they're not. Instead of commenting on what's on someone's plate, we can shift the conversation to something more neutral and inviting. Ask about their day, their favorite part of school, or what book they're reading. Let the meal be about togetherness, not judgment. And if you're concerned about someone's eating habits, try having that conversation gently and privately, away from the dinner table. It's a small shift, but it creates a safer, more respectful space. Imagine how freeing it would feel for everyone to eat without worry of being watched or critiqued. To just enjoy the food, the company, and the moment. That kind of peace can do more for someone's health than any rule or restriction ever could. Now let's move to the fourth mistake, which is letting screens take over the meal. This one has crept in more and more over the years. A tablet to keep the kids calm. A phone at the end of the table. The TV on in the background, just for noise. But while technology can be helpful in moderation, it has a way of pulling us away from each other, especially during a time that should be about connection. I totally understand the temptation. If a cartoon keeps the grandkids from complaining, it can feel like a lifesaver. And checking your messages while everyone's chewing may seem harmless. But what often happens is that screens take the place of conversation. We stop looking at each other. We eat without tasting. And slowly, mealtime becomes something we just get through, instead of something we enjoy together. There's an old saying I love, the table is the heart of the home. And it really is. It's where stories are shared, where values are passed down, where laughter bubbles up unexpectedly. But only if we're present for it. Try this, the next time you gather for a meal, make it a screen-free moment. Even just once a week. Light a candle. Set out the good napkins. Play some soft music, or let the hum of conversation be the only sound in the room. You might be surprised at how the mood shifts. Maybe the kids resist at first, but they'll remember. Years from now, they'll remember that one evening where everyone was really there. And if you're eating alone, or just with your spouse, the same idea applies. Put the phone down. Turn off the TV. Make the meal an occasion, even if it's just toast and soup. You deserve a little ceremony, too. Because food isn't just fuel, it's a moment, a ritual, a chance to pause and care for yourself with intention. So often, when we think of healthy eating, we focus on calories, vitamins, portion sizes. But truly healthy meals are just as much about atmosphere as they are about nutrients. A calm, present, connected meal can do wonders for digestion, mood, and even memory. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need a 5-course meal or fancy table settings. What matters most is the attention. The choice to slow down. To be present. To make mealtime something you look forward to, not just something on the schedule. When you think about it, these little changes, letting go of pressure, avoiding food rewards, choosing kindness over commentary, and setting screens aside, they're not just for the kids. They're for you, too. They create a home where everyone feels a little lighter, a little more respected, and a little more loved. It's not about being the perfect parent or grandparent. It's about showing up with intention, with warmth, with the courage to say, maybe there's a gentler way to do this. You've already done so much for your family. Just think about how far you've come, the meals you've made, the mouths you've fed, the wisdom you've passed down. These small changes? They're just the next step in that lifelong journey of love. Let's keep going from here, because there's one more piece of this puzzle that ties it all together, and it might just change the way you think about mealtimes forever. And when we talk about changing the way we think about mealtimes, it's not just about what's happening at the table, it's also about what's happening in our hearts. Because the fourth and final mistake many parents make, especially later in life, is one that doesn't always show up on the plate, but it's there, quietly shaping everything. It's this, bringing emotional baggage to the table without even realizing it. Now, this might sound a little heavy, but stay with me for a moment. Think about how deeply tied food is to memory. A certain smell, a favorite recipe, a familiar rhythm in the kitchen, it can instantly transport us to another time. Maybe it's your mother's roast chicken, your grandfather's garden tomatoes, the way your kids used to run to the table when they were small. These memories are beautiful, but sometimes they come with a sting. Maybe meals don't look like they used to. Maybe you're missing someone. Maybe you feel unappreciated after all those years of cooking. Or maybe you're watching your adult children parent in a way that feels foreign or even frustrating, and you don't quite know how to help without stepping on toes. All of that? It shows up at the table. It shows up in the tone of your voice. In the sigh when someone leaves food untouched. In the quiet way you withdraw when your advice is brushed aside. And even though your heart is full of love, the people around you, especially the younger ones, can feel that undercurrent. They may not understand it, but they feel it. So here's what I want to say, gently and with so much compassion: if you find yourself bringing past hurt, unresolved tension, or quiet disappointment to the table, you are not alone. You're human. And you're not doing anything wrong. But this is your invitation to lighten the load, just a little. Before the next meal, take a breath. Check in with yourself. Ask, am I bringing stress to this moment? Am I holding on to something I could let go of, just for today? You'd be amazed how powerful it can be to make that choice, to leave the past in the other room, even just for one meal. To show up to the table with curiosity instead of control. With openness instead of expectation. Because your presence, your calm, accepting, loving presence, is more nourishing than anything on the plate. It's what your children and grandchildren remember most. The tone in your voice. The twinkle in your eye. The way you made them feel safe, even if the peas were mushy and the gravy was a little salty. And here's something beautiful: healing can happen at the table, too. Sometimes, the best way to mend an old hurt is to pass the bowl of potatoes with a smile and a simple, "I'm glad you're here." Sometimes, the most powerful parenting moment happens when you don't correct, fix, or advise, but instead, listen. Nod. Laugh. Let things be imperfect. One woman told me that the turning point with her adult daughter came during a holiday dinner. Instead of telling her how to handle the kids, she asked, "How are you holding up lately?" That one question, asked over a shared plate of green beans, opened a door that had been closed for years. Because meals are sacred. They can soften walls. They can start fresh chapters. So maybe today's table doesn't look like it did when your kids were little. Maybe there's more silence, fewer seats filled, or new faces in the mix. But you still hold something incredibly valuable, the chance to make that space a haven. A place where people feel loved, not judged. Seen, not managed. And here's the wonderful truth, you don't need to do anything big or dramatic to make that happen. You don't have to cook a gourmet meal, or solve every issue, or say all the right things. Just being there, fully and warmly, is enough. Let's take a moment to bring it all together. We've talked about the dangers of pressuring others to eat, using food as a reward or punishment, turning meals into a commentary on someone's choices, and letting screens interrupt what could be sacred time. We've looked at how emotional baggage can quietly slip into our mealtime rituals, and how we can gently choose connection instead. Each of these shifts might feel small, but the impact they can have? Massive. When we make mealtimes more about presence than performance, more about relationships than rules, we give our families, and ourselves, a tremendous gift. So if there's one thing I hope you take from this conversation, it's this: you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to show up with love. Parenting doesn't stop when our kids grow up. It just changes shape. And no matter where you are in your journey, whether you're helping with homework, watching your grandkids chase the dog, or just sitting quietly at the table with your grown children, you still matter. Your presence still matters. The way you show up during a meal still shapes the people around you. So why not make it beautiful? Make it gentle. Make it yours. If any part of this resonated with you, if you found yourself saying, "Oh, I've done that," or "That sounds like my family," please share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences. What's helped you create more peace at your table? What's one small thing you're going to try after watching this? And if this video gave you a new perspective, or simply made you feel seen, go ahead and give it a like. It helps more people find this kind of warm, thoughtful conversation. And don't forget to subscribe for more tips on navigating life with wisdom, grace, and heart. Because you're not done growing. You're not done leading. And you're certainly not done loving. Here's to peaceful meals, full hearts, and the beautiful connections that come when we choose presence over pressure. Here's to living your best life, at any age.